Hey everyone, today's video is going to go over the differences between tank healing versus raid healing as a mage healer, primarily looking at the leg and boot runes. So yeah, let's jump right in. When you want to tank heal is either when you have a very strong secondary healer or on a fight like Crowd Pummeler where nobody else is taking damage but the tank. You can take Living Flame, Spell Power, blast the boss, do as much damage as possible, essentially becoming a 9th DPS in your raid, all while keeping your tank alive. You can get out a ton of tank healing just by doing damage here. If you really want to play it safe on a fight like this, you can go Mass Regen, you can go Chronostatic. It's just not needed though. So depending on how you look at the game, how you want to min-max, in my opinion, if you run either of those on this fight, you're wasting 2 slots that could be better used elsewhere. I've already discussed this playstyle in length, so we're going to quickly move on to the Mass Regen / Chronostatic playstyle, what with the changes in Phase 2 kind of buffing it, as well as just kind of seeing how certain fights are like way more important to use them on. So when it comes to Chronostatic, it kind of lives in a world between the two styles. It's very good at healing somebody who randomly took damage. It's very good at healing a massive damage spike on your tank. And what I'm about to show off in this video is that you could actually use it in solo healing as well. So the real killer, for me at least early on with this ability, was mana regen and the mana cost of it. They decreased it by 44%. It's way more manageable. And there are a bunch of fights in Season of Discovery where there's mana regen mechanics. So this is one of the fights. The turtle from BFD, if you run into one of the bubbles, you get a bunch of mana back, essentially giving me infinite mana in this fight. So what you're seeing is me as a fire mage full healing myself essentially with chronostatic healing. So again, this is an ability that looks like it might read confusing. You might have like looked at it and been not as excited about it, and you actually haven't even picked up this rune. I think every single mage should have this, even if you're not a healer, because you could just use it when you're soloing and heal yourself up to full whenever you want for 200 mana. It's insane, right? So what fights would I actually use this on in Nomer? 100% on Thermoplug. It's incredible for Phase 2 in the Frost phase when your tank is taking massive single target damage. And you're only giving up some spell crit damage, which you don't even have a lot of spell crit as a mage healer, so, you know, don't really stress about it. Up next is when you should run Mass Regen, as well as a very powerful mechanic in relation to Mass Regen, which is spell queuing. So I would recommend if you're in a party where a lot of people are taking damage in a dungeon, you could easily run Mass Regen and keep everybody in the party alive basically permanently. Once you get a bunch of gear, your mana is actually going to be totally fine. Just pop Evocate like 2 or 3 times throughout a dungeon, you're good to go. What I'm about to do here is the spell queue I talked about. I cast Arcane Blast. I use Mass Regen at the very end of the cast, and the Arcane Blast damage immediately applies as a heal on everybody in the group, and I'll replay that. Begin casting Arcane Blast. At the end, you're going to see me tap Mass Regen before Arcane Blast is done casting. It's going to queue up that spell, and then immediately heal everybody in the group. So when would you want to run this in Gnomeregan? Well, my suggestion is if you don't trust your second healer. Basically, if the other healer that is in your group is either fully single target or they're just new, they're a fresh alt that's trying to heal, I would suggest running Mass Regen, just keeping your entire raid alive, sacrificing a bit of DPS, as well as just making things easier on your raid team. The only fight in Gnomeregan that I wouldn't run this on, even in a bad group, is Crowd Pummeler. And in general, you can think of Mass Regen as insurance, right? If you're in a Gnomeregan where you don't know the quality of how the run is going to go, Mass Regen is a way for you as a mage healer to kind of take control, take leadership, and just say, all right, everybody's staying alive. I'm basically guaranteeing it. Let's go. That's going to do it for this video. I finally talked about spell queuing, which is a very important part of mage healing. It allows you to do burst healing on either a single target or an entire party basis. We finally covered Mass Regen in depth. Basically, I feel like in a few of my other videos, I was trying to put it down a little bit, but that's because my groups have been so strong. If you have very good DPS and players who don't take a lot of raid AoE damage, you really don't need to use Mass Regen. But that's not going to be the case, especially as more people are leveling mage healing alts moving forward. So definitely understand how and when to use Mass Regen, when to use Chronostatic, which is a huge buff when it comes to single target healing, solo healing, fire mage healing is literally a possibility in the future. There's just so much here that I haven't seen people talking about really. And I feel like people still underrate mage healers, but in my opinion, they are the best healer in the entire game. Again, as always, hope you guys are having a great time with Phase 2. I will see you guys in the next one.